think let me begin by acknowledging the commendable work that Morung is doing. The lecture series we have heard, we have seen in the paper in the past, is an effort of this Morung in trying to bring awareness, conscientizing people in the intellectual level, such as the gathering that we have this afternoon. And therefore, we'd like to say thank you to Morung for the hard work that you are doing, very, very intentional in your approach. So shall we give Morung a big hand? I'm not a political thinker. I'm a clergyman. But I've been excited, enthused about the Naga people for many, many years. So to address this Naga's contemporary nationalism, if we recall, the counterpart of Karl Marx was Friedrich Engels. And in his writings, Friedrich Engels made a distinction about nationalism, and he said that nationalism was either historical or non-historical. This is the word of Engels. If we really study Engels' text, it was basically based on the Westphalian text of 1648, very clear. So, in Engels' view, the non-historical people were to be punished, will be chased out from the stage of history in order to facilitate development of, quote, historical people. I think history has proven Engels to be wrong. History has shown that the nations in which Engels' view were to disappear as peoples without history have survived. This is after in historical perspective, what we can recall the Ottoman Empire. The Balkans is an example of what I'm talking about in this stage, and I don't have to go back, retreat back to history. Now, since the early period of the 20th century, Naga nationalism has desired to defend and safeguard inhabited territories, and thus aspiration for nationhood began among pioneers of the Naga movement. A.Z. Fizo's imagination remains unmatched, and Naga people must put and record Fizo in its right place. Now, in the contemporary world, 21st century, nationalism has not faded. It has not disappeared. All around the world, many are turning to ethnicity and searching for new anchors to ground their identities and political loyalties. In the modern political science, this is an evolutionary paradigm that elements of new nationalism are imagined. Although it is true that Nagas have reached back in history to find past memories and concepts that offer us credibility with enough records of it, this past should not simply be efforts to resuscitate all ideas from the past if they do not meet present 21st century needs. like many ethnic peoples of the world, Nagas were self-governing and living independently. Those who are familiar with James Scott's book, The Art of Not Being Governed, James Scott alludes to this. He calls this the Zomia group of people beginning from Laos up to Tibet and Nepal. And he mentions the Naga people also. And Scott's thesis is that these people were self-governing, let's get this clear, self-governing and living independently. Governance and social structures were intentional in order to maintain our autonomy. Ask your forefathers. We maintain our autonomy. It was a Plato's democracy in our context. A pure form of a democracy can be traced back in our history. Now, coming out of this, Vizo's construction of the Pan-Naga movement were social and political choices designed to position the Nagas vis-a-vis the Indian government. Credit must go to Uncle Vizo. Now, such an effort is a de facto human condition all over the world. It's not akin, unique only to the Nagas. It's all over the world. Now, politically, Indian nationalism has proven to be non-assimilative and hegemonic in spirit. From an historical vantage, it is my view that in order to counter the aggression of the hegemonic political attitude of Britain and India, Naga nationalism arose. Hence, the Simon Commission of 1929. Thus, Naga people inhabit their own relative unique history. Please get it correctly here. Nagas have a unique history, not at the expense of other unique histories in the world. Our uniqueness has its place in the Naga context, so also the Métis have their own unique history, Assamese have their own unique history. That's my relative unique history of the Nagas. This historicity is an essential element in our liveness and aspirations. This historicity is also a social and political destiny. That is, it is intrinsic and inevitable and ultimately legitimized as universal human values. In the lived ethos of the Nagas, many have fought and have sacrificed their lives for identities that have abiding political significance in history. It is also preparing the Nagas. Maybe we can get into discussion later on. It is preparing the Nagas, and perhaps in part has already prepared them for a unity that has ever been. National consciousness may, under some circumstances, contribute to this end. However, nationalism in our context can become a blinding curse. I use that word. Nationalism in our context can become a blinding curse to those who have accepted nationalism uncritically. In the contemporary world, Naga nationalism must sort out nationalistic idealism vis-a-vis national construction. Let me repeat. In our contemporary world today, the Nagas, Naga nationalism must sort out nationalistic idealism vis-a-vis national construction. The former, namely nationalistic idealism, has tended to be more successful in idealistic nationalism, that is, imagined nationalism, an idea without content. There is perhaps an essence without form, nostalgia, jingoism, etc. And this contradicts, this is not in test with national construction. That is, when I talk about national construction, I'm talking about policy, process, the building of effective Naga institution, so that it will lead to social, cultural cohesion. In our case, nationalism has been more successful in building parties. Think about it. In our case, nationalism has been more successful in building parties, groups, rather than fundamental changes in the life of the Naga society. Ironically, some nationalists have been political beneficiaries of a process which they have not created nor accepted. In general, they have not come to grips with the fundamental productive forces of their history. Today, we must, without delay, begin to transform the cult like objects charged with emotional overtones into a more logical, rational approach with form and content. The Nagas in contemporary nationalism needs national leaders and movements to deepen realism and greater stature if the Naga people are to outgrow the present age of idealistic nationalism. Today, from the viewpoint of democracy, genuine freedom and development within the Nagas should be preferable to stagnation. Such a paradigm is about an authentic and genuine justice for the Nagas. The kind of justice that ushers in life that is worth living. A just society that provides opportunity for children, women, and men to flourish and to hope and to build a better future. Contextually, Naga nationalism, the classical narrative of self-determination and sovereignty, demands realistic and relevant deconstruction. I repeat again. Contextually, today, that is today, Naga nationalism, in our Naga nationalism, the classical idealism, the classical narrative of self-determination, of sovereignty, demands a realistic and relevant deconstruction. For nationalism without realism and relevance is a cop-out. Yeah. We talk about it all the time. in the present historical context, there's nothing. So also, realism and relevance without national identity is a sellout. Today, all over the world, this is not only now the world scenario. Those who are students of political science, history, you are very well aware. Even economics, you are very well aware. Today, globalization is dissolving sovereignty by connecting people regardless of borders. Trades, finance, property, technology, that links, that imparts a variety of universal notions. Nationalism without an identity is empty. This dictum seems to be the forte in modern political science. Let us not continue to harp on the Westphalian text or the Westphalian narrative of 1648. Today, the modern political science seems to be talking more and more on the idea of identity. Let us be reminded that all identities are unique. Naga identity is unique, Métis identity is unique, Assamese identity is unique. Our uniqueness should never be the expense of the other. Uniqueness of the Nagas and their history should never be, I repeat again, at the expense of the other. This means an identity is always defined only in relation to the other. My identity is defined only in relation to the identity of Uncle Victor. This is also the thesis put forth by Jacques Derrida. Now, to have an identity, again, let me go. To have an identity is to have a boundary. Wati, I have a boundary. To have an identity is to have a boundary. But these boundaries must be permeable. To isolate yourself from the others by a boundary is to make you less human. Now, towards the end, as I come, let us not look at the past attitudes. There are many. We can go on and on. Without harping on past attitudes, the government of India must transparently show that diplomacy without an ethical will and a politics without a global ethic will produce new injustices and thus new conflicts. We have a chance, I believe. Now we have a chance to start moving forward only if we are realistic. Even for a strategy of small steps, it's here to move towards a shared future. Finally, let me one more time call upon Naga thinkers, leaders, and the conscientious people, and remind that if we withdraw from our responsibility of walking and working towards a just society, we will rob it of its power. A great Naga potential is here, organized around the primordial spirit of belonging. Our interests have more in common than in petty differences. Let us not destroy our identity, our Naga identity, something that is worth making sacrifices and living for. Thank you.